Okay. I think this one is live. I'm not gonna pull an Audi from last stream and just be like muted for the beginning.
That
uh,
wasn't Tub Takes, okay?
that was not Tub Takes. It was just another ladder stream. Hello, people. What's poppin', Tub Nation, and welcome to Tub Takes. This is a video podcast where we go over what's been making waves in the VGC scene. I've got some lovely guests today joining me. We've got, well, I'll start with the lovely ones. We've got Donald.
Hey.
We've got Jake.
Hi.
And then we also have Adi.
Hello, everyone.
I think you're lovely.
My personal favorite, Adi, of course. So you guys didn't let me finish. You know, I said we have lovely guests and we have extra lovely guests. Anyway, this is Tub Takes. It's you know, a video podcast thing and whatever. We blah blah blah. But we're gonna be going over some tournaments and stuff, upcoming and ones that have already taken place, other metagame things, current events. There's actually quite a few current events to talk about this week, as well as answering your questions. If you want to hear us talk more, ask good questions in the chat, and we'll try to keep an eye on that and answer them. Lastly, this is going to be uploaded on YouTube on Wednesday on Adi's YouTube channel, CK49. So if you can't stay for all of it, you can check it out there, or if you you know, pop in late. I know this is the beginning, so it's kind of weird to say now, but if you like, you know, are in and out, if you're in and out and you want to, you know, catch the bits that you missed, you can just find that on YouTube in 2 days. And with that, we can go ahead and get started with this this whole thing. Let me go ahead and I've realized I'm streaming the Tub Take document. Wait, am I streaming the wrong? It's not that bad.
Oh, no.
But I just gotta switch the. That's fine. Like, I mean, I don't really care if people see the document, you know. But
No, we have a script.
the whole script is out there. I say the same thing every time. This is crazy. Okay. 1 second while I get the correct thing there. That doesn't seem to be it. That seems to be it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
What do you mean that's the one? What did I put on before? Was there nothing? Was it blank or
No, you
something?
put the stream ending screen on.
Oh, is that what happened? All right. I think we're good. Okay. I've got the right thing in the background now, and we're going to be moving on to talking about Perth. Perth is the first item on the list here. This is the regional that took place over the past weekend in, of course, Australia. Had 113 players. This was, of course, you know, Regulation B, as we like to say. So
Do we know that they're retconning it? So like they're like Series 1 is now Regulation A, or is it just like
no, I think
Series 2 then Reg C?
yeah, I think actually in the jump ahead, the Cerebi tweet, I gotta find where I linked that one, but the Cerebi tweet that announces the like that we're gonna be playing Regulation C and stuff says maybe it gets
saying about Vancouver.
it says series will be now named Regulations.
Hmm.
But I don't know if that goes back. But I mean, the fact that they're starting with C implies that, you know, maybe there was an A and a B. Very silly. Okay. Anyways, this was won by Taran Birdie, otherwise known as Aura Rayquaza. Looks like maybe Evan found the one where they talk about it. Yeah, no, it just said, it doesn't exactly say that the old ones are referred to as Regulation B and stuff. Maybe it if I click the Cerebi link, it'll get into more detail, but that's not important for now. Let's talk about Perth. So won by Taran Birdie with a team of Great Tusk, Mousehold, Torkoal, Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, and Dragonite. So a Sun team. Torkoal seemed to be primed for a big finish the previous weekend. It was kind of making big waves before, but didn't quite take home the win. And we do see Torkoal go all the way here with a support set.
I think the support Torkoal is like honestly a lot better than the like Charcoal or Option or Specs, whatever you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just because like Helping Hand is a stupid good move in general, especially when you're the point of Torkoal in this format is less I'm gonna do a bunch of damage and more like I'm gonna set up Sun for Fluttermane and Great Tusk and whatnot. So having like Helping Hand on that is really good. I think Gallon's good too. I don't know if like every, I guess I don't know about like every support Torkoal joining, but I think in some aspect they're probably like Overheat, Helping Hand. I've seen like a Jetpack, which is pretty cool. I know of a friend that's big on like a Jetpack Torkoal. But I think in general the support set's a lot better than like blast it with offense.
That I believe
Yeah.
that's what we saw last weekend, right? Go ahead, Donald.
Yeah, I think it really depends if you have Trick Room on your team or not. Like, I think the moment you have Trick Room, you could just go for the eruption lines, but like this winning list has 0 Trick Room, so the support makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, go ahead, Ani.
I think that it reminds me of how the Sojourner trims played, because there were a few of them that popped up, right? And they were trying to abuse Spec Spotter main, usually with that 1.3x boost from Power Spot, which is the same as a 1.3x boost from Photosynthesis, and Helping Hand on the Sojourner, and just saying, I'm going to like power through teams. And so it basically does the exact same thing as a Sojourner, except I think exerts more offensive pressure with that, really powerful overheat, and also enables your Great Tusk at the expense of powering up your opponent's Pokemon. And then it is cool that that he had Clear Smog on there as well. I think that's not super uncommon, but like it is role consolidation in that now it is also a Dondozo matchup in that slot. And it's a Dondozo matchup even if they're Terra Steel, because if they're Terra Steel, then you get to overheat them. So
yeah, true. And every overheat drop is ignored. Always, so like just kind of extra fun into the Dondozos. Want to point out that Helping Hand, I believe, is a new thing for this generation. I mean, we've been playing Gen 9 for a couple months now, but Torkoal didn't get to use Helping Hand in the previous generations, so I think a lot of the weather setters, if not all of them, except maybe Hippowdon, poor Hippowdon. Did you know that one's legal? All the weather setters.
I know it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think all the weather setters get Helping Hand. Maybe Hippowdon gets it and Tyranitar doesn't, or it's the other way around. I don't know.
Hippowdon does get it.
Well, then does Tyranitar? Is it Tyrant?
I think it's all the weather setters.
Oh, just all the weather setters. Okay. Yeah, they just said multipliers go crazy. I mean, weather is just like known for enabling other Pokemon, and so Helping Hand, just taking that to the next level, makes a lot of sense. And then bringing it back to what I was saying at the beginning about last weekend, I'm pretty sure like Torkoal had at least 2 representations in the top 4. That was Nails, who was running like a Charcoal Torkoal, and then I think there was one in the finals, right? And that team also was just an Eruption Charcoal Torkoal. Though supported by different things. Nails had the After You Lilligant, allowing it to actually get off those eruptions, and then the more conventional route from the team that made finals, as Donald was talking about, with Trick Room. Anyways, somebody pointed out, funny that it was won by an Invader. We've seen that a lot this season. I believe Taran stayed there because Taran was at Oceania and stayed there until this regional in Perth. So that's a nice 200 CP, $2,000. And let's talk about some of the other teams won over the finals against Alistair Sandover. With, I believe, something very close to, if not the exact same as his OCIC list, just because I actually played him at that tournament. Went undefeated in Swiss and made it all the way to the finals with a team of Fluttermane, Garchomp, Arcanine, Amoonguss, Screamtail, and Dragonite. I gotta say, a lot of the things here are relatively standard, except, of course, that Screamtail. I think that this Screamtail is very strong. It's one that we haven't seen make a deep run with this exact set. It's a set that I like very much. The booster energy with speed, Encore, and Disable. At least it was speed when I played against him. And Encore Disable, such a deadly combo, especially in a metagame that is running Pokemon with, like, choice specs. Fluttermane choice specs is actually pretty common, and so disabling can be very, very strong, especially, in an open team sheet metagame when after they lock into a move that you can just disable it.
Yeah, this set at Orlando messed me up because I'm a Dynamax baby, right? I never played against like Encore disable stuff, and I was just like, I looked at the team sheet, I was just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I started clicking buttons, and it just like in gamed me every time. So I still don't know how to play against this set, but it looks scary.
I think
Donald
it's
and I.
really good at just enabling like the rest of the team, right? Because especially if you have like, well, I guess there's no setup, but you just have like really strong attackers like Dragonite, Garchomp, Fluttermane. Like you don't want to be taking like free attacks from them at any point, but Screamtail's really good at forcing you to. Like you rather just switch out to not get Encore disabled, or you're just gonna get locked into Thunderbolt against a Garchomp or something like that.
The moves are just so controlling.
Yeah.
Like disable is comparable to I guess like fake out if you know that they have to go for a certain move, and to be able to just lock them out of that, it just buys whatever your other Pokemon are trying to do a lot of time. And it also, even in open team sheet, just means that your opponent, even if they see it, you still might just go for it just to bar them out of going for that move on the following turn. Just to answer the question of the chat, no, you cannot encore or disable a Goldengo. Goldengo does get to be immune to either of those moves, so
Unless you're a Tinkaton.
true. Tinkaton with Mold Breaker gets to do that kind of stuff, and it gets to like Thunder Wave Goldengos. Goldengo does have a spot here in third place in the top 4 from Mitch Kendrick, which not a lot to say about this because I believe it is a direct rip of the team from the previous weekend from Wolf and from Marcus. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I guess I'll make a comment about that is, if there's a known team that has proven itself, doesn't mean that you can't, make a deep run with it. The teams that rise to the top are strong for a reason, and just play well. And then we have Sam Pandelis in top 4 as well with, I want to say, the same 6. I know that Sam was running Garganackle at the very least, and I don't remember much else about what Sam was running at OCIC, but I want to bet it was a similar team to this. Let's look at that and see if there's anything noteworthy. Do you guys see anything that stands out to you? Because, wait, I'm actually scanning through and not much, huh?
This looks super standard. I guess Shadow Claw Mimikyu is like the actual most interesting thing on this base.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the curse
the no
Mimikyu.
sugar
I guess it doesn't have
Mimikyu.
Trick Room. That's the thing, you know?
Right.
But yeah, okay. Evan does confirm that it was the same 6. So thanks for checking that for us.
All right, now we get to the fun stuff. We got all the we got all the standard teams out of the
Okay,
way.
yeah.
Let's talk
All the
about
ones that
sport.
won their quarterfinals. Now it's fun.
Well, which one do you want to talk about, Adi? Take us away.
I want to talk about the Florges. There's a Florges in top 8. That's crazy.
That is pretty
I don't
fun.
even know what it's trying to do. Like, normally, when I see a Florges, I assume, if you don't have team sheets in front of me, that it's going to be next to a booster energy Paradox Pokemon, and it's going to pass an item to it, so it gets double item, essentially. Like, it gets a potentially, like, I don't know, you can imagine a Fluttermane that gets a speed boost and then also a special attack boost with choice specs, right? That'd be a cool use of Florges that I've kind of explored and haven't really thought is very good. But this person, Diego, is doing something totally different because yes, it's symbiosis, but there isn't. The only items that are consumable are the berries on Gastrodon and Arcanine. So maybe you get to pass off a berry, but realistically, I think it's there because it's the utility item, a utility ability, and instead it's doing something else, and I couldn't tell you exactly what.
Well,
What does Symbiosis do again? That's the item, like, it gives the item away or whatever to the partner?
If your partner consumes an item while Florges is on the field, Symbiosis procs and gives its item to your partner.
Okay, wow.
and
I was
so
expecting a booster energy or something.
what are the? I mean, of course, if there was anything that actually ran knockoff in the format, that could set it up. But in terms of there's actually nothing technically self-activating, but the only ways that this is really comboing and setting up is with the other berry Pokemon.
Yeah.
Your Gastrodon and your Arcanine, which both have Recover and Morning Sun, notably. So just try to keep those two alive forever. They're going to get down to 25% or lower, eat their berry, heal 33%, and receive another berry, and then also have the option to click Recover or Morning Sun. Incredible.
Notably, this team does not have a citrus berry. He just said, "I want 3 super citrus berries," and this is the second Ayapapa Arcanine in the top 8 that we saw. I think Alistair also had a Mego Arcanine, and that one made sense because okay, there's a citrus on the Mungus, but this one is kind of out there. I don't dislike it. I think that it's easy to get yourself in range with Flare Blitz, and if you have Morning Sun, then that 33%. Getting you back up to 50 and then healing it back up gets you a lot further than trying to, like, for a lot of Pokemon, the difference between being at 40% HP and being at 1 HP is pretty negligible because you're getting KO to the next tech anyways. Arcanine has a little more wiggle room, but it's still taking 30% from most attacks, and so it is cool that it has Morning Sun to heal back up and actually really make use of that extra healing that it would get.
I'm really happy to see Lexicon's Ayapapa Arcanine making a return to the VGC scene. A lot of the people from 2017 and years later might know. Gosh, I don't even know why that was the default calc set. I know some people got mad at me for that being like the default spread because like mostly my friends were like, this spread is so bad. I hate that I have to like go in there and I think it was like make it not max attack Adamant Arcanine because like I don't know. Anyway, just funny.
Is there anything you could skill swap the symbiosis to, like on the opponent? Does that have any?
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. You're right. You can skill swap symbiosis.
Can you like give something an assault vest or something and just completely grief it?
Wait. How would you have that happen?
You would skill swap the assault vest Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
you skill swap the booster energy Scream Tail.
Yeah.
It doesn't even work
or disable.
It has to be if you skill swap the booster energy Scream Tail, it's already been used.
It has to be in the back. It would be in the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. It's to be fair, I did check the guy's Twitter, and he did say he got knocked out in top 8 because he wasn't willing to make a hard to read. So maybe it is something along those lines.
You can't even skill swap the like Quark Drive and Protos, right? So I was thinking like, you could skill swap maybe the like Iron Hands or whatever, and yeah, okay. I don't get it, but maybe there's something there.
My first thought I saw Florges was like Flower Veil or something. I got like before I saw the rest of the team, like, oh, there's a Brute Bonnet. It's not gonna get intimidated or whatever. Yep. But
I will say, a small thing that I want to talk about on the team is the Brick Break on the Great Tusk, just because on the Scarf sets, you usually see Earthquake in the last slot, and while there are no Earthquake partners on this team, I'm also noticing there's no Protect on this team. I don't think anybody's mentioned that until this point. There is actually no Protect on the team. So maybe that explains it a bit more. You can't even Earthquake next to a Protect, but there's at least 2 Terra Flyings. I feel like Earthquake is just such a strong move to have on your Scarfmon for a late game cleanup. Or at least Ice Spinner. Ice Spinner's another move, but not very convinced in Brick Break. Going back to the other teams, let's talk about one more of these top 8 teams. I guess let's talk about the other one that has some weird Pokemon. The team from Felipe, I believe, with a Fari Giraffe. There's some cool Pokemon on this team. Except for Grimmsnarl. I hate that guy. Grimmsnarl's so late. Oh wait, never mind. I don't hate this guy. Look at the set. The set is kind of hype. Kind of hype. All right. Noodle Arms is looking pretty interesting.
Noodle Arms. I think Farigiraf is actually kind of slept on. Like I think it was early season 1. I used it on some team, and it was around the time when like the Encore Disable Sableye was going around.
Mm-hmm.
I remember plopping Farigiraf in front of it, and the Sableye was just entirely worthless. It like set up its screens and it just sat and did nothing. It was one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
That is pretty awesome. It'll actually be pretty interesting in series Regulation C, as we get to talk about later. Anyways, somebody asked if we can make Jake louder. I'll see about that. But while I fix that, let's talk about that Grimmsnarl set. That Grimmsnarl set is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you get to choose if you want to be a screen setter or if you want to do everything else and they chose everything else, right? Like you take tiers is really cool with your specs flutter main. Again, just giving it all the multipliers is really cool. Your team is relatively bulky. Like I think specs flutter main normally run some amount of bulk. Brute bonnet, it's pretty bulky. AV great tusk, so it's not even the like the sash set. Vertigraph is reasonably bulky. Like it does benefit from parting shot. And then of course everything is presumably faster than Grimmsnarl, including the Vertigraph. I think they're pretty similar speed stats. So except for the Torkoal, of course. And so you can like really take advantage of assurance. I do think that dark coverage is really good right now. Maybe not better than Fairy, but like you can just chunk the Indeedis and the Armoroogs, which is really nice because I assume that Grimmsnarl is normally a Pokemon that you want in the Side Spam matchup. And so doing things like clicking Ice Spinner and then Assurance to KO an Indeedee and then parting shotting an Armoroog is actually like pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Grimmsnarls that forego the screens just because like I'm a screens hater in general. That's just me. But this set is just like far more interesting, and I think it's really cool with Torkoal and all the Protomons to not have to necessarily lead Torkoal, but they have the option to instead reduce damage with a parting shot and then kind of catch them off guard because they have to account for a fake Tears attack, a attack plus assurance, but also you could just parting shot into the Torkoal and go for some Proto boosted attack. I don't know if these are all Pokemon that are boosting their offenses with Proto, but also just like getting a speed boost that the opponent might not be expecting could be strong. Some really cool options here. This is a very, very interesting team.
One more tub take on Grimmsnarl is that, you know, everyone was freaking out because it got parting shot this gen, right? And everyone's like, we got to run it. It's got parting shot. And the problem is with parting shot is that you really want it on a Pokemon that wants to switch in, right? It wants to not be on the field. Grimmsnarl, when it's setting screens, just wants to stay on the field, stick around, click light screen, click reflect. It doesn't really want to come back on the field. And so for it to really fully take advantage of this prankster parting shot, which is so powerful, it needs to do something when it gets right back on the field. And so I think that fake out, you need to have fake out if you're running parting shot. You don't need to, like there are, you can run attack move screens parting shot and do well. But fake out makes parting shot so much better a move because you get to bring it back in and have it, you know, keep your momentum up every single time. And so I do like this set, and I think that, you know, this is a good way of running Grimmsnarl if you're willing to drop the screens from it.
Yeah, you kind of stole my take. I do feel the Grimmsnarl is like kind of underexplored. Everyone was like freaking out when it got parting shot this gen, and then everyone is just like, okay, let's do light clay screens, like just the same thing from Gen 8. But yeah, the parting shot fake out package makes a lot of sense to me. It gives you the damage reduction too. Like it's not like you're just going all out offense. So I wish there was more time to explore it in this series. Maybe it'll do something in Regulation C. But yeah, I actually kind of like this Grimmsnarl set the more I look at it.
I hadn't really considered the like fake out synergy with parting shot, just because I think I was one of the people that just kind of jammed it onto like Spirit Break screens, parting shot, Grimmsnarl like super early on. It felt fine, but it felt almost redundant with the screens too, and especially since after you got screens up, there's not a whole lot left to do. So I think that makes a lot of sense having the parting shot, but then also a reason to come back in to fake out. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the
we're going to talk about we're going to talk about Series 3 as Regulation C a little later, but I do think Grimmsnarl has a place there. I really do think screens are actually quite good there.
Yeah, you do. Anyway, the usage stats. I've got at least one nerd in the call. Every time I've got Adi in here, I get Adi to mansplain the numbers to me and what they mean. But I know at least one of these numbers, which is Fluttermane at 57% usage, still really high, still way up there. Bundle down to 33. I think that was like a top contender at a certain point, maybe a bit earlier, but also somewhat noteworthy to me is Flutter's got like a 57 usage in overall, and then in the top 32 it's pretty much the same, and Iron Hands also has pretty much the exact same usage between overall and top 32.
I know at previous regionals, I think Fluttermane, Iron Hands, and Iron Bundle were the top three, like all the way down. So seeing Arcanine jump over Bundle is interesting.
Mm-hmm. It was a close race. It is just by a single
Yeah,
representation.
Yeah. Even non-bundle was like up in the high 40s, closer to 50% too in usage too. So that's kind of a big drop down to 33.
Mm-hmm. Could always be a local flavor thing too. Are there any other noteworthy numbers here, Adi, that we should be looking at?
Um,
I'm
I'm
seeing.
pulling up, I'm trying to compare it to like previous events, but one thing I will note is that actually it's not okay. Compared to Knoxville, I was comparing it to OCSC where we had like 18% dozo, and that's much lower. But also Knoxville only had 9%, so it is relatively comparable there.
12% seems
Fluttermane
pretty bit bigger.
Fluttermane usage is crazy. Almost 60% of teams had Fluttermane.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
kind of nuts.
I think there's a
So-
difference. The difference between bundle and flutter is, you've got something that's at the top of the speed food chain, but this one's immune to like two types, the fighting moves, the normal moves, fake out notably, and so bundle has to either Terra Ghost or Covert Cloak, but Iron Hands is still a very common thing, and just having something that is fast and fake out immune can just be a very reliable part of any game plan. So on top of Flutter, just having broken stabs and a great typing and decent stats and a good move pool and I got other things. So
It's interesting to me that there's 5 more Indeedee than there are Armor Rouge. And then,
right?
like on the flip side, there are equal numbers of Annihilate and Mousehold, which I think we've kind of seen that reverse lately, and like there have been a lot more Mousehold than Annihilate in a lot of tournaments. But this time, I guess we don't technically know if all the Annihilate and Mousehold were together. We can probably safely assume that most of them were.
No,
They were
there's
not.
At least 5
Look at the
solo
CP teams.
Indeedee.
Yeah, if you look at the ones
If you
that
look
got
at the
CP,
teams-
there's only 2
Look at the teams that got
Annihilate.
CP. Yeah, there are 5 Mousehold and 2 Annihilate. So I think they were pretty
got it.
separate. I think a lot of the Annihilates might have been like a choice car set.
Yeah,
That's true.
fair then.
That size spam team it's probably a popular one for people to pick up. Len VGC Alex Soto, I believe. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that team's probably a
And even
popular
then,
pickup.
there's at least 5 Indeedee that are just like solo support Indeedee, which is interesting. I don't think we'd see much of that.
And then Among Us, I guess, converted pretty well is something that people are bringing up in the chat. It has 40% usage in the top 32 teams, whereas it only has like 30% usage. But anyways, I've said enough numbers to give myself a headache, and so I think I'm gonna move this along to talk about briefly. Natal Regionals is coming up this weekend. I don't really have much more to say about it because it's a region that I'm very much not familiar with. They did add quite a few seats, it looks like. I thought there was rumors that this thing was like 30 masters or something, so actually maybe it was. I don't know.
It says on the Victory Road article. It says it was 30 masters and they added 80 slots.
Okay, that is exactly what I
yeah.
thought, but I didn't want to say it
Yeah.
out loud because of how crazy it sounded. I thought it was at 30 and that they added 80. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you just like, oh, you know what? We can
We
work
just
this
come
out.
up with 80.
We'll triple the capacity. Like, guys, don't worry. Like, we could actually make this work. Did you want to play VGC? Did you actually wanted to? Oh, okay. Well, why didn't you just say so?
Yeah.
Kind of nuts. So at least now it'll be of a reasonable size. They've got like 25 juniors and seniors. That's around what we've been seeing, but 110, that's pretty good. I believe this might be the first Latin American event of the season.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I believe that's.
I mean, there's
correct.
only been like
For VGC.
yeah, for VGC, there's only been like 5 or 6 events total, right? It's just kind of crazy. I mean, we don't have locals, and you only have the majors to look at. But also, I feel like normally we have more events just worldwide, and so it's just kind of interesting to see so few. I know that Latin America got kind of screwed over. Their circuit is just not as many events as they usually have. Maybe it's because they've done less special events or something. I can't remember what the reasoning was, but anyways,
Well, they're down in IC, right? Because of it was in
yeah,
fall
right.
last year.
Kind of
Yeah,
insane.
And that's the big thing. That's the big hit, right?
What is
Mhm.
what is their championship point bar? Is it
not
like
only-
notably lower?
It's like 200 or 250, I think.
Okay, at least a little bit lower.
It is lower because normally it's America's bar. Normally it's 400, and they do
Yeah.
normally have a ton of special events. And they have a decent number of regionals. Like I know Mexico normally gets 2 regionals, and it looks like they're getting none this year, which is a shame because I was planning on going to like a Mexico City regional if they had one.
Yep.
But yeah, they just have like 2 or 3 regionals total, I think.
Yeah. Paul Ruiz also said some stat. I forgot where he was comparing it to, but it's
Ecuador.
Like,
was it Ecuador?
Yeah, but he's from Ecuador, but he said this regional in Brazil is like closer to Africa than I think Ecuador he is comparing it to, but like most of Latin America.
It is just like so far on the coast, and I mean it's nice that they have the event, but I mean that when you're used to having so much more in much more accessible locations, or at least a higher quantity, means that more people are going to be able to make their way out. And this one again had limited seats. I'm assuming that even with the 110, the 80, I think it says signups sold out, but they added 80 more. That's gonna sell out. So
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Anyways, I don't know if this one's gonna have a stream. That would be cool to see. I don't know if it says anywhere in here if they're gonna stream it or not, but I mean, any high level VGC, there's just such a difference between live event, because anybody that's willing to pay the entry fee and travel out means that they're putting a bit more serious time into the game. And so I would love to watch this if they do have a stream, but we'll have to wait and see. Sorry, Adi, what were you trying to say?
I just gotta add. I mean, I'm looking at a map right now of where Natal is and like where the events in LATAM are, and it's crazy that it's one region. That's like my main takeaway is like, if you live in Central America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and you're in a region where literally like all 3 events are in the like southern hemisphere, that's insane. I think that like they really should like reevaluate how they are splitting up LATAM, and because I think that they probably should have like a LATAM North and LATAM South region just to make it a little fairer, because this is just kind of nuts.
I mean, if you're in like North Brazil, you're closer to a lot of places in the U.S. than you are to like Rio or something like that. It's kind of crazy how big South America is, and I just don't think that's something that we like ever have to think about. And you're definitely right in that they don't really get nearly as many events as they have like the player base for. So some kind of restructuring there would definitely benefit them.
Yeah, I pulled it up. I don't have a list of where the other events are, but it is just
Sao Paulo and Santiago in Chile.
Oh, that is on the map here. Oh my gosh, yeah, those are just like, that really does not give much to any of the players that are, in like Latin America and just like the northern parts of South America. Kind of crazy.
And that's the closest event to like Central America. Sao Paulo and Santiago are further. So yeah, actually Santiago might be closer, but it's not great.
And so I don't have a lot more to add on this one. Definitely look forward to seeing some top teams from it. I think it's just always cool to see what different regions favor, like what different teams, and of course there's some very strong players from there, like Agati, is one that comes to mind that I would love to see what Agati's cooking with, and some of the other players here that are like on the top of the championship leaderboards. I believe these players are probably just got points in like NA events, but yeah, they are, I guess, trying to decide what their travel awards look like. I mean, I don't know what they currently look like, and then this is for the NAIC period now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is just overall what you're looking at right now.
Oh, okay.
But like, because like the 2 Argentinians got points at the Open in London. This is also outdated because there was a Chilean player, I think, who top cut the Perth Regionals, because I think he lives in Sydney, is what I saw on Twitter.
Is that Diego?
That's Diego. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like it really is all over the place, and it's so stupid that no one has gotten championship points in Latin America so far, and so it's just people who are willing to travel or people who live in other areas.
Yeah.
Imagine if there's a world where like their travel award winners don't actually have a Worlds invite. Like there are not 8 people that get an FCP for an invite.
Mm-hmm.
With this amount of events, that would be kind of wild.
That is kind of insane. I mean, 200's so low, but when there's no locals.
Yeah,
It is a
like-
steep climb.
If there's a total of 3 tournaments in your region, like that's a real possibility, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about Vancouver, which of course means we got to start with the difficulty image, and Adi put this one together. So we've got it at a 3 out of 5, 3 Timbits out of 5. I think this one could have been a 3, could have been a 4. Kind of hard to say. I actually like forgot to ask before we started recording or anything, but somebody that's going, can you tell me how many people are like signed up and whatever?
Oh, I'm going, but I don't know how many people are signed up. I know there's enough to make day 2. That's the only thing.
Well, no, you have the ability to look it up, is why.
Oh, okay.
It's on your dashboard, but I bet Adi knows where to look, so Adi can. Oh wait, no, but Adi, are you? You're not in
I'm
the
not
event. Oh no, we
I'm
need
not going. I was
Donald.
Dude, after we got the series, the rule set, I was like, I want to book this last minute.
It's RK9. Is that what it is?
Here, I can.
Yeah,
I can.
If you just go to your player dashboard, it'll show you.
I'm looking.
I think it's actually Donald. It's just simply
Okay,
R.
I got it.
Okay.
372. I'm assuming that's with like a couple of juniors and
Yeah.
seniors.
Yeah.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
mixed
total.
division. Okay. 372.
That's pretty healthy for a Vancouver regional, right?
That would be the biggest Vancouver regional we've ever had, or biggest Canadian regional potentially. I think we've ever had, but we're breaking a lot of records this year, so it's not too surprising.
Yeah, everything's just going up. So, I mean, let's compare it to Limitless does tell us here. So if you guys scroll down to the Limitless links, or I guess I can just tab over here. The last one was the one that Gavin won, and that one had 117 players, and the one before that in Vancouver
Can we look at Top Cut really closely for that one?
was 87 players. So let's keep going. And then
Ooh,
Seattle,
I
Seattle had 150 players. So
Yeah.
let's
That Vancouver regionals at in 2017. I remember. I think this was back when they counted people who signed up and didn't actually show up for numbers, because there was like a time where they were kind of doing it, kind of weren't, and I think they ended up with 98 signups. Because I remember I got 18th place and needed 60 CP to get my Worlds invite that year and missed it.
Yeah, I was at that one in 2017. It was pretty sad. It was very small.
Man, I've been told everyone is too quiet. There's no way.
That just raise your volume.
Turn your volume up. All right, I turned the volume up a little bit, but yeah, no, I don't know what to do about that one. And also, it's not coming out of my right ear, but that might just be my headphones. I don't know. Can you guys work on that? Can you guys buy me a new pair of headphones? Sorry,
I'll just talk from this side of my microphone, okay?
Yeah.
not to poke too much fun at you. Everyone except you is too loud. I hope too quiet.
Oh my god, this is a whirlwind.
Oh, Alex, turn yourself down. That'll solve it.
Okay, turn me a little bit down.
Make it even quieter on average.
All right, I have adjusted me a little bit down, everybody else a bit up, and it's perfect now. I will not be taking any more feedback, because otherwise this is gonna get off the rails. So the oldest event, I actually didn't double check. Is it Seattle or is it the other one?
Do you count Vancouver Worlds?
Oh no, I do not, because the problem with Vancouver Worlds is that people from all over came out, and I don't think Arash is coming to this one. I don't think Arash is coming to defend his title at Vancouver Regionals. So I didn't think it was
Seattle
worth
in
mentioning.
May. Vancouver was in October of 2017.
Well, Seattle also existed before 17. I think a lot of regionals predate Limitless.
Okay.
Like I know I went to Seattle in 2015. I don't think that was the first time it was held either.
I'm still reading more volume feedback, and I need to stop looking. All right.
I will say my voice is a little weird
Yeah.
right now, so if it's me being quiet, that's not Alex's fault.
No, they're saying everybody. I've turned my volume down. My numbers are not peaking as high as everybody else. So you guys are just lying. Everybody else at home is lying. Justin Burns won this one. I think that guy's a cool guy. He won Seattle back in 2017. That's the oldest one kind of in the area. We don't have a Seattle regional this year, so I thought it was worth picking. I was asking for like
have
events in the
2015.
what's that?
I found the 2015 one.
In
Do you know
Seattle?
who won the 2015 one? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh wait, it's not even like on the site here.
In
is it?
2015, I think it was Riley, right?
It was Riley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask the boomers in the call. We'll get the
I
answer.
remember he played against Pledges in finals.
Pledges,
remember.
yo.
Yeah.
He did not.
No?
Not according to Nimbasa.
And maybe it was
He might have played
maybe
against
another time in
Pledges in top
cut.
8.
Okay,
Because
that's
there
what it
is
was.
a-
Yeah.
There is an Infernape Charizard Venusaur team in top 8.
Yo.
I remember that. Yeah.
Actually nuts. Okay. So Seattle here was in the 2017 format. And mostly just looking at this for if you guys haven't already picked your smart money, which I did warn you ahead of time to pick a smart money, but just like looking at top players that might be attending the event. I know Justin isn't. We talked about Hayden isn't. Conan Thompson should not be. Alberto is Albert. I
That was too slick.
I don't know if Alberto's going.
I'm pretty sure Alberto said he's going to every regional.
Let's
like every
go.
major.
Let's go, Alberto.
Yeah.
I love Alberto.
This was like early in the year, but I would believe that.
Yeah. I mean, I believe it. And I mean, yeah. Wait,
Okay.
I'm
I've
definitely a
been-
boomer, John, by the way. Don't get it twisted. I am absolutely a VGC boomer.
I've been looking up the past Seattle regionals, and I found a link to the YouTube video of the finals of 2014 Seattle regionals. If we want to group watch that,
Is
Yeah.
it like a cell phone video or something?
it literally is like a cell phone video.
Yeah.
That's
no.
not true. I think it is a. I think they had to save it on their 3DSs because you used to be able to save your battle videos and then just replay it. No, that's not true. No, this is just normal. This is just streamed. But yeah, it's Chinese dude versus Randy Qua.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, these are. I love watching these old videos. They're just blasting
Yeah.
fast.
The good old days. Were those Alex?
Hello, Alex. He left.
What? Oh yeah, no.
He's one
I
of
was
them.
hoping that maybe you could, take the spotlight for 3 seconds while I go turn off the
Yeah,
light.
No, I was.
What, did you ask me a question or something?
No, we're just talking. I saw you get up. I
we
was like, okay.
finished our topic, which was being nostalgic about an event that happened before I started playing VGC.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, yeah, I heard the 2014 cell phone video part. Anyway, so bringing it back to Vancouver though, we see River Davis won the regional in actually Vancouver in 2017. This was, I guess, post Worlds, and
Yeah.
a bunch of top players to look at here. Aaron Zhang is Aaron Zhang on the commentary team for this
He's
one?
not.
He is
No.
not. Okay. All right. I was just curious if, but I mean, well then maybe Aaron's there competing. Who knows?
I think he is. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure he
actually?
is. Yeah.
Okay, that's hype.
Yeah.
Aaron Zhang's definitely somebody to root for. There's Riley, who we were saying won a event in Seattle before. I don't know if Riley's playing though. And then yeah, some other top players here. And then lastly, with probably the best one to look at is the most recent Vancouver, which I hate to look at because of some of the people that were at that one. Man, it was kind of crazy. Tub had 4 top cuts at this event. Audie, Burns, John, and Gavin. And it was like, oh, this is lit. And I think Gavin and Burns had a team kill in the top 4, right? I think. And so that was inevitable. That
must have been. I think it was top 8.
Or sorry,
It's
top 8.
Justin
Thank
at
you.
7.
Thank you.
It
Yeah.
was top 8. Yeah.
And so that was like inevitable. That one was unavoidable. But then we were like, okay, let's see how the rest of Tub does. And then we like watch Adi's game, and I mean, I remember it was being pretty uphill from from having to listen to Adi prep and stuff. And then
I nearly pulled that off.
and you nearly
We
did.
literally scripted the entire game because it was like, this is unwinnable unless I call a 50-50 right turn 1 and then basically play the rest of the game perfectly. And I pulled it off game 1, and I called the 50-50 right turn 1 game 2 and was like, oh my god, I'm gonna do this, and then just like made one misplay, and it cost me the set because I did not have a third game plan that was gonna work.
Is anybody else still listening? All right, moving on.
That set was super hype. You should definitely go watch it. But yeah.
How did John's go? I can't remember.
John also had no matchup.
John played against.
He said
played against Cortex, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said his matchup was awful going into it. He said that if Cortex led Ditto, he automatically lost because it beat both of his leads, and then he didn't do it, but still like kind of got thrashed from what I can remember. If you just Google it, you can watch most of these sets. If you just Google the two names or Vancouver, or you can watch the entire Vancouver broadcast on the Pokemon YouTube channel, but people have uploaded them individually. Not that I would recommend, giving those people views, but it is a convenient way to find them. Yeah, but it was crazy because we had 8 people in our Airbnb that were supposed to be playing. One fell sick and didn't go the day of, and of the 7 of us who showed up at the tournament, 4 of us top cut, which was absolutely nuts. Really strong show from us.
Yep.
And yeah, it was crazy. And then of course we had to sit in the Airbnb and prep all night, and by that I mean John and I prepped for a while, and Gavin and Justin sat very quietly and thought about it.
Poor Justin. He had to, I think, play me at the event before, right? That was
Yep.
Caucus was just before this. Just such unfortunate cuts for Burns there. And yeah, so Gavin won that one. Gavin will be going to this one, I do believe. So watch out. Gavin's hot off a win at a friggin' Internats. So this guy knows how to play Pokemon. A regional and a regional win, and then an Internats win between now and then. So I guess, I mean, not exactly between now and then, because that was then, but that was the regional win. But obviously, watch out for Gavin. Gavin is a very strong competitor at this event, and that probably is a good time to talk about Smart Money. Or is it? Actually, I forgot there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about in here that I don't have anything open for, which is the commentary team. Just because, of course, we've got a commentator, I guess, on the cast today.
Who?
So, Donald, have you ever done any Magic the Gathering commentary? I wanted to ask and see,
No, I don't think I have, actually. No.
All right. Well, now that we've
That's
gotten
a
that
good
out of the way,
question,
I believe, Adi, you do YouTube content?
I do.
That's pretty close.
I let other people talk about it. I just listen.
That's true.
I don't really do much talking.
Yeah, so we have Jake on here. Unfortunately, Jake not gonna be commentating this one. We got we got a pretty strong looking team though. We got Adam, Scott, Sierra, Maeve, and Gabby. This is gonna be Maeve's like 3rd or 4th event, I think.
3rd, yeah.
Yeah, and
I think this is Gabby's first time doing VGC this year. I think she's just been doing Pokemon Ghosts.
Yeah.
She's been on Go for the last couple years.
This is Scott's maybe like 2nd time casting, I think. So really excited to see what Scott does on the mic.
Did he cast San Diego?
No, I'm just teasing because Scott is like the oldest commentator in the roster here. Just like he's like in and out of retirement. Maybe did he do San Diego? What'd you say, Jake?
I just said Scott and Puka both the same way. I think he did. I'm pretty sure Scott was in San Diego.
Yeah, he's probably just doing all the West Coast ones, right? Like San Diego, Portland, Vancouver. Gabby might do the same.
Well, Gabby's in Boston now.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I will not comment on that.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I might be misremembering, but Vancouver last year, 2 people like got sick because it was like back to back with Secaucus, and so two of the commentators got sick at Secaucus and couldn't go to Vancouver, and so they I think they pulled Scott out of retirement to
Was
captain,
that for
right?
Vancouver last
Yeah.
year?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually pretty noteworthy then. That Scott is doing this one again, and that's I forgot that was the one that brought Scott back. That was hype. Yeah, just I mean, Jake, I'm sure you were a fan of Scott and Evan back in the day.
Oh yeah, like the biggest.
Yeah, of course. And I wanted to ask you, how was it commentating? What was it like? How long has it even been? A week, two?
A week,
Since
yeah.
time is crazy.
I know.
How was it?
Oh, it was so much fun. I had been like, obviously I did Dallas 3 years ago now, and then
Yeah.
I'd done other like grassroots stuff before that, and I was hoping to get to come back. Like I obviously didn't get to do anything over like COVID or anything, and then they kept the team pretty small after that when everything came back last year. So there was no like hard feelings about it, but I was hopeful that I got to come back, and then they finally reached out to me towards the end of last year, and I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll do whatever you want.
Wait,
so I had
how
so
far
much
in
fun.
advance?
Like December.
December. Oh, okay. Sorry, last year made me think like, whoa, but I guess December is just
no, like 2 months before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to do it with Maeve too. Like I'm good friends with Maeve, and I've worked with her before, and it was really fun to get to do my first one back with a good friend. So I have nothing bad to say about that weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember getting to check out some of yours while sitting at the like live one there, where like the chairs and stuff, because they did a lot of the they were playing a lot of the VGC commentary during the day, so I got to catch quite a few of your sets, and I'm sure you got to partner up with everybody at certain points, or did you was there anybody that you didn't get to partner up with?
I did one with Sierra, and the rest were with Maeve.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't work with Aaron at all.
Oh, okay. Is that because of like a role thing? Or like
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I can't remember. It's generally categorized into the two roles, color and play-by-play.
Yeah, so Aaron and I both do color.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that definitely tracks. Okay. So with that, just wanted to, I was like, well, we have like an actual official commentator on the event, so we should probably talk a little bit about it, right? But let's bring it back to talking about Vancouver, talking about the smart money. So, I think we've covered everything else that I wanted to talk about for this one, and so let's move on to that. So everybody has a pick. I'll let the guests go first. So me and Audio go last, just so in case Audio and I steal anybody's picks. We'll have to come up with secondary ones. Let's start with Donald. What do you got for smart money?
Am I allowed to pick myself?
Yeah, I mean, this guy. I mean,
You should pick yourself. You should be confident.
Why? Yeah. Why am I going if I'm not going to pick myself?
Right? Yeah. I mean, why would you even play? Why would you even play if you don't think you're gonna win?
Yeah.
No,
I have another answer if you want, but
I do want the other answer because that one's just like, I mean, of course you got to bet on yourself, but I appreciate the confidence. But let's hear another one.
Yeah. So to clarify, I'm betting on myself because I have been like preparing a lot and I really like what I'm bringing. For other people though, I have my eye on Freeze Eye. So he's going to this event. I think this is his second regional. He cut his first one ever. But just talking to him in Orlando, this dude's like super smart, and I think he like just the way I hear him talk about preparation, I think like he's just kind of gonna pop off this year, honestly. So I'm putting my money on him and me. Well, me first. And
I like it. All right, Jake, who you got?
I mean, so I did have like an outside pick that I wanted to say, but I was looking earlier and she's not going. So I was going to say Hayden, which I mentioned earlier, Alex. But so Hayden, if you're watching, I believe in you. And next time you go to regional, you're my smart money. But after that, mine's boring. It's just Gavin. Like, I don't think it's going to be really hard to stop Gavin. Like, it's just given his success this year. And especially if it brings Palafin again. Like, Palafin literally can't stop winning majors. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him win.
That's true. That is true. Okay. Adi, I'll throw it to you.
My turn? Okay. So there were 7 people who top cut both the first 2 majors of the year, which were San Diego and Orlando. And I think that I think that consistency is really powerful. And I think the player who I'm thinking of, has been just playing super well the entire time, and that is Giovanni Costa. He's kind of been on fire this year. He's been really consistent on ladder, and he's been. I think he just like on Twitter, it seems like he's really confident. He runs some weird stuff, but like if there's one person I think I would take to cut an event right now, given his consistency over the last few months, I think it's him. So I'm going with Gio.
I guess I'll stick with the theme of multiple cuts this year. And my pick is Luca Paz. Luca has been very consistent this year. Is like, I don't know how to say this. This is just gonna make me sound like an old guy, but he's just like one of those young kids who just like runs the game. Just like he just like clicks fast because he already knows what you're thinking of like 40 seconds faster than you do, and so very experienced. Just like is just so consistent. Also with like different teams, won that regional with Don Dozo, but then managed to go and get top 4, make a very deep run at Knoxville with just kind of a basic standard good stuffs team. I believe also consisting of Palafin. So if Luca decides to run it back with Palafin again, then that could also line up with Jake's take that Palafin is just going to be running these events and making another deep run. So Luca is my pick, and I do believe hopefully everybody like knows. It sounds like we know everybody's going. That was a serious issue going into like one of the last ones, maybe OCIC. I think it's a little bit harder when it's like an internets that. Anyway, we all picked like NA based players, and so it's a lot easier to know if they're going or not. But man, I just didn't want to run into any issues with that. Okay, so that's our smart monies. Hopefully those feel fair to everybody. I mean, maybe there's some big player that we're missing out on, but that could be your smart money at home, you the listener. Anyway,
yeah, let us know in the comments down below on YouTube who your smart money is.
True. I mean, it will be on Wednesday. Is Chuppa going? That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer. I should.
I'm not sure. I don't think he is.
I thought Chuppa was taking a bit of a break.
Yeah. I think he's been trying to cool off for a little bit.
So I'm not 100% certain on that one, but yeah, Chuppa is of course a good pick. I think someone smart money Chuppa for the past several events, so maybe he needs a break from smart money as well. Obviously it didn't slow him down. And Aaron Zhang for the smart money is another great pick. Okay, so I believe the next item on the list here, I have to go double check, but is Japan Nats. We got some more information about that. So there's going to be these 3 online qualifiers that are going to be held. Wait, are they? No. 2 online qualifiers?
3, yeah.
Wait, 3?
Stage
Where's
1?
Stage 3 is in person.
Oh,
Stage 1
wait.
is 3 online qualifiers.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah.
So wait, no,
Yeah,
I was mixing it up with the 3 stages. So there's 3
Yeah.
online qualifiers in the first stage, and then there's an online tournament. Is that like another? Is this like a Players Cup or is this like an IC? Let me
The
read.
online tournament, from what I remember, I think is Swiss. I might be wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not sure if it's Swiss or if it's going to be a ladder tournament, but I'm pretty sure it's Swiss.
Okay. Yeah, and then that it looks like it's saying it's taking it down from the like 450 players down to just 64 for the actual live event. That is kind of just crazy. How their structure over there is just always so different. Based on the time periods, it fits and makes sense that it's all going to be Regulation C, as it says there at the bottom. I don't know if other regions are even going to be allowed to play in these online competitions. A lot of people are wondering, it says here in the tweet from Evan, at the moment it's not announced whether the 3 online qualifiers, aka Global Channels, would give out CP.
No.
They have not announced the
Also
format
not
for
announced.
stage 2, says Evan. Evan, is it open entry? Or is it like a Japan only for these online qualifiers? That's something I'm wondering about. I mean, maybe we don't know. Everything's kind of up in the air. I know that they, with the latest update, launched the tournament. Like, you could run ladder tournaments now, but apparently it was like super bugged.
They fixed it. It works now.
It works now. Okay. It would show as global challenge to the rest of the world. Okay. Does that mean that like could I play in it? That's kind of what I'm wondering. Like, I mean, even if it's just for fun. Let's see. What are some of the other things that are listed here? And then yeah, I mean, it's all culminating in a live event. You know, in June, which will be before NAIC. NAIC is like June 30th. It's a very funny date, as we'll get to later, just because of how things line up. Just like, I guess, like, to just not like leave you guys wondering, but like June 30th is when Regulation C rules end, and Friday is June 30th. So it's like, I mean, hopefully we get that information in advance. Super weird. Yeah. The world can play in it, but only those who indicate the region as Japan would be allowed to qualify. Okay, that does make sense. But okay, I mean, those online ladder tournaments are always fun. It's just like such a different way to play the game. You know, you want to have some tricks up your sleeve. You want to have something consistent. It's always fun. I know I've had several friends who have made deep runs. Some friends that have even won them. You know, Rajan won the largest tournament of all time because he won that like one IC that had 100,000 plus events or entrants. Because Donald, do you know this story?
No.
Well, so the reason being is Rajan won the quote largest IC of all time because and Nails got second because this IC gave away Megastones, and it was the only way to obtain the Megastones in game at the time for certain Pokemon. All you had to do was enter and play 3 games. You could just forfeit the first 3 and just be done. But Rajan, it also did reward championship points, so there was reason for VGC players to enter and take it seriously. And so Rajan entered that one and managed to win, and it is technically the largest IC and largest Pokemon tournament of all time.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he was actually
That
only like a
count.
point or 2 ahead of Nails, funnily enough. And they were both using like similar stuff. Some crit Kartana, scope lens Kartana stuff back then. 2017 was a good year. Okay. So with that, I think this was coupled with the announcement of Regulation C and these online tournaments is the Paldea Prologue. We won't talk about it too much because it's not exactly our scope. You know, like, I mean, it doesn't. That's true. I mean, talking about big Regulation D. Watch out for Regulation D, Donald. Anyway, the Paldea Prologue is just like one of these 15 battles per day over the course of a weekend type tournament. And this one is just only Pokemon that can be caught and found in Paldea, but that of course includes the restricted Pokemon, which you do only get 1 per team. So if you were wondering, hey, can I just run both Miraidon and Koraidon? No, you have to pick one. And so this is honestly just kind of like choose your side, like Civil War. Like, do you want to run? Do you want to run Miraidon and just like this is such a weird restricted format because like we have played official single restricted. Now that was during like the peak of the pandemic. It was all online, but we played. What was the format? Was it Series 8, Adi? Series
8 and Series 11 are both 1 restricted, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, but you had a much larger pool. You didn't have just 2.
Yeah.
So you could run Zacian, you could run Groudon, you could run Kyogre. There was options. It wasn't just this good versus evil, sun versus electric. It does feel like, especially with the Paradox Pokemon being legal, just pick one, spam, Flutter Mane and all the past Pokemon, or pick your Iron Hands and all the future Pokemon, and just go crazy. I mean, I think that to dive a little bit into the metagame, I don't know a lot of it. I guess we actually have a thing I should pull up. There was some for fun ladder tournament I think run with this rule set.
Okay.
I definitely think that people will be running, like Koraidon with some future Pokemon just to counter when you run into the Miraidon in the mirror, or not the mirror. That's the opposite. It's not the mirror. But you get what I'm saying. You wanna use their terrain too. When that's gonna be set up in most games.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty slick.
Yeah. So like
They
just
can
because you picked
coexist, too.
Koraidon doesn't mean that you run 5 of the past Pokemon. You're gonna want to run at least 1 or 2 of the future ones to use the opponent's terrain. It also allows the ruins, which that's the last item on today's day docket, but we'll get to that. But the ruins are legal in this. You can see the 3 of them in a row in usage here: 6, 7, and 8. Where's the snail? Wait, where's the snail?
Where's Wo-Chien?
Oh, that's okay. It's at 11.
This is gonna be interesting though, because like in the past, all of the I guess really just been Groudon and Kyogre, but their like field effects can't coexist,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Miraidon and Koraidons can. So it's gonna be kind of funny to see how that plays out. Because like you said, like if you're running Miraidon, for example, you probably still want Flutter Mane, like regardless, just because it will dunk on either of the 2.
Yep. I mean, you
Bikes,
see it there
whatever
at
you
number
wanna call them
1,
collectively.
so
Yeah, exactly.
makes a lot of sense.
It's like the first time we've had that like coexisting of the 2 like legendaries.
I know, it was
in
so
one
weird.
player.
We had it in XY.
X and Y
Yeah,
a little bit. You
oh,
could
you're
run.
right.
You could run
Yeah,
both
yeah,
of
yeah.
those. That would have been nice for Reveltal if it could cancel out Fairyora by just like
Yeah,
having Dark Aura up.
right.
I just
I
realized
actually feel
they're
like
restricted. They also speed type Flutter Mane, so
Both
Oh,
of them.
no.
format.
Oh
yeah.
no.
Well, Donald, there's room for one more. You know that Chen Pao
That's
also
painful.
speed ties
Yeah.
that.
Oh, is that 135 based? Oh,
Yes.
I hate this format. I hope it's not.
Are you excited
Series
for Regulation D? You were the one that was manifesting
Oh
this.
no.
man, why do they have to make all the Pokemon the same speed? Like, just make them 130 to 135 is empty. Just make it 131, 132, 133. Just like speed ties suck.
Yeah, they do.
I'm surprised they didn't do the whole like all even thing with Koraidon too. Or Miraidon.
Oh wait, yeah, they didn't do that.
The features are all even, yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, they
wow.
had that weird number theme. Yeah.
Yeah, but Miraidon it's like both.
Not too surprised to see Bundle, who is conveniently super effective against both with Ice type moves and 1 point faster than them.
Yeah.
Also there. Yeah, but it's just such a toxic format. And then you have Iron Hands, and then just Paradox. I'm surprised to see a DD down in 10th, but I guess that is like so. Like that's the fun thing about this format is that you get to pick in DD on your Koraidon teams to interrupt the Miraidon teams.
yeah.
But then let's see if there's any other. What is it? 18 down in 18. Pelipper. You get to pick Pelipper on your Miraidon teams to interrupt the Koraidons. So it's like it's weird because, like you said, Jake, earlier, that their abilities don't directly counter each other, but they're still going to want to disrupt each other, especially because it's single restricted. That you pick these low level supports that have the terrain or weather abilities just to disrupt the other one.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised to see. I think Indeedee is going to be the only one because especially we have Pincurchin, but then beyond that, there's no Misty Terrain Setter and Arboliva. I mean, I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to believe it in a format like this. And then I don't know. Sun can be interrupted by hail and sand. But both of those Pokemon kind of sound like they get their ass kicked by a collision course or whatever the fighting type move is from Miraidon. So Pelipper actually can take the hits, at least that one, pretty well because it resists it and will be turning off the boost of the weather. So yeah, I don't know. We probably shouldn't spend too much more. I mean, I guess we're like flying through the topic, so it's fine that we're wasting time talking about this. But it's mostly just a for fun format. They've done this before though, where they've tested the waters of the format in like a online competition like this, and then made it official. I mean, this is something that we could definitely see being a rule set at some point down the line. It's just we're used to having more restricted options.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think they will ever make this an official. Like, people are speculating in the chat that it might be a Worlds format, but like, I don't think this is ever going to be a real format until they release more restricteds. And they're not going to do that until a DLC like in Sword and Shield, where you can suddenly catch all of them. And just make it a little more accessible. I know that like Groudon and Kyogre are in Pokemon Home whenever that comes out, but I just don't think that we're going to have a single restricted format until they're easily accessible. and that means probably next year, if not 2 years from now, when they will start that. So this is just for fun, in my opinion.
I mean, that
I would
was,
agree.
as Evan mentioned, Series 13 was like just kind of a casual thing. I mean, that was kind of like during our break time, but you know, they can definitely run tournaments that have no bearings on what VGC is actually going to be, or circuits, or not circuits, but like formats and stuff. Okay. What's the hypothesized worlds format? Some people are just theorying that this could be the potential next format after Regulation C. Which, why don't we go ahead and dive into talking about that Regulation C, because of the dates and stuff and how that impacts worlds. They announced that Ranked Battle Series 3, well, now known as Regulation C, has been announced. It allows the use of the Treasures of Ruin. So the 4 legendaries are now going to be legal, as you saw in the stream announcement meme, if you didn't see it. Yeah. So Chen Pao, Chi Yu, and Ting Lu and Wo Chen are all going to be legal now. There's also I've seen this like common misunderstanding that like it might be like a restricted or a limited number of them or something, but no. You can use as many of them per team as you want. These are not restricted legendaries. They are kind of the sub-legendaries. They're very strong. They're maybe even as strong as some restricted legendaries. Don't get it twisted. But these are your Zapdos, your Landorus, the Pokemon that you are allowed to have multiple of per team, as long as they are legal in the format. And they are now legal. So expect to see them. They are very strong. They've got 570 base stat totals. They are all dark types. I should honestly pull up Pokemon Showdown so we can look at all of them, or maybe I'll pull them up on Cerebi. Yeah. I guess. Go ahead, Adi.
Fun fact: in the initial data mine to the game, they actually had a higher base stat total than they did right now. They all got knocked off 10 points because they were that powerful.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
I did too.
But yeah, these guys are scary. These guys are, honestly, we make fun of Wo Chen. Honestly, all 4 are really good. Chen Pao and Chi Yu are absolutely crazy. They enable offense in a really like 15% is so powerful. Then on the other hand, like Ting Lu is also really good. It's got a really good defensive typing. Honestly, ground is such a good typing right now. And it, dropping special attacks is really good. Wo Chen kind of has awful typing, sadly, but like, I do think that, especially if, there's going to be this interesting dynamic where, hey, people are going special, let's run Ting Lu, then people maybe switch towards a physical orientation, and then Wo Chen suddenly like has more of a niche. And it does get cool moves like Leech Seed and Pollen Puff that let it, stick around for a long time, something else. So I think all 4 are going to see play. And just kind of the metagame is going to centralize around what these 4 Pokemon are capable of doing.
Yeah, even with the Wo Chen typing, I mean, I feel like we've seen it with Garganacl, where like Rock isn't that great of the typing either, but you can just Terra out of it, and you just kind of build your team to like play around the Terra.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so I finally got them on screen here. They all get they're all dark types. So that's something that's going to be a like major focus of the metagame is, making sure that you resist dark type. You not all of them are going to abuse dark type stab as effectively, but especially the offense ones, they both do use the dark type attacks. Chen Pao often using Sucker Punch or Throat Chop. Chi Yu has Dark Pulse and Snarl that it uses, and so yeah, then there's going to be fairy types that are here to hit them. Most of them, 3 out of 4 of them super effectively. There's going to be fighting types that hit all of them super effectively. There's going to be bug types everywhere. No, maybe not.
Yeah.
maybe
All right,
not.
eat a bug.
Terra bug will be a lot more common. It doesn't resist any of these types. I guess it resists ground and grass. So if you're really concerned about Ting Lu and Wo Chen running you over with their offensive damage output, then maybe you need to look somewhere else. Anyway, they all get Ruination, which is just a clone of Nature's Madness. So it does 50%. You probably won't see Ruination too often on Chiyu or Chen Pao because they could do 50% with Ruination, or they could do 100% with either of their attacking moves. Whereas Tinglu and Wo-Chen will get a lot more mileage out of them. They're probably going to be more often defensively built. Yeah, I guess some of the other things, while we're kind of just jumping around here, we could talk a bit about the Pokemon, but I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about the name change? So they are trying to move the name from Series 1, 2, 3, so on, to now Regulation A, B, C. And so this one will be Regulation C.
I think the purpose is just like removing ambiguity. Like series and season are kind of interchangeable, and like what is a season in terms of VGC? It's not going to be the same as a series, so I understand it. It's very much going to take getting used to. Like everyone's going to call it Series 3 for a while until we finally switch over. But
I'm excited for you, especially if like for your next commentary gig. Have fun with that one.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, so I guess it's like the Pokemon company in Japan that's like deciding this, right? So like,
or
I have no idea what they're thinking.
I don't know
is
if
it
it's
them
them
or is it Game Freak? I don't even know.
It's probably.
Oh yeah, I guess that is
the
different.
heads of TPC or TPCI is what I would guess.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard people mention that it would be handy so that you can differentiate the series and season, because every time that there's a battle stadium season, it's like this is the third battle stadium. I think the third battle stadium season just started, but it's still
those are a month long, right?
Just every month.
It's just the month basically, and but the rule sets, the series do carry over from like more than 1 month. I mean that's another thing about this one is I think Series 1 was technically December, which didn't have like any tournaments, and then January. Series 2 was February and March, but this one is going to be April, May, and June. So this one is actually going to be 3 months for the first time, and it's a couple of both sides of that date actually have tournaments falling on either end of it, and it's kind of awful, kind of crazy. But thankfully, we have at least clear answers on the sooner one. Fort Wayne and Sydney regionals are going to be on April 1st, not some kind of joke. I know everyone's just like looking at that and it's like, oh, it's an April Fool's joke, but no. Friday is March 31st. Saturday, the day that you start the tournament, is April 1st. And a lot of people were like, what are we even going to be doing with that? That's crazy. Thankfully, Mike Waitala came out and said that Fort Wayne is going to be Regulation C. So got a clear-cut answer on that one from the person who's going to be running the tournament. And yeah, that's going to be honestly nuts. I mean, what are they expecting people to do but use Showdown? Like, it's just, like, how are you even supposed to prep for this tournament if you cannot play it in-game? There are tools in-game. You can, I bet the rules are already downloadable, so you can challenge people. And then there's also, as we have been talking about it, those tournaments, those like for fun tournaments that people can run. I'm sure people are going to start running those. And then of course, grassroots are going to be running Regulation C tournaments sooner than the rule set becomes legal. I'm surprised we didn't have some in like the last week already. It feels like as soon as rules get announced, the tournament organizers are like, I'm gonna be the first one. This is gonna be the first major of Regulation C. So I'm surprised that we haven't seen any already. I'm on the player side of that. Like, where's the first one? I'm ready. Like, I gotta enter a Regulation C, get practicing for it. Especially, I mean, not to get too personal, but like, well, this is so deep and personal. Wow. But no, not what I meant to say is like not to make it all about me because I'm just like rambling and talking. But I won't be playing any Series 2 tournaments anymore. Like, I'm already done. And so I won't be attending anymore. And so like I'm already like fully shifted into Regulation C. I'm like, like trying to figure out and crack this meta. And so it is kind of crazy that the only outlet I have is Pokemon Showdown, which is totally fine by me, but I just don't know what they expect other people to do.
Wi-Fi battles, link battles. Let's go.
Just go ask, like,
Just random link battle.
just
search.
random link battle. Just search up and just be like,
Put in a
wait,
code until
hopefully,
you find someone. Yeah.
hopefully somebody finds it. Okay, let me talk about the dates though on the other end, because this is the funny thing. Is it goes until June. April, May, June. June 30th is the day that NAIC starts. So this is just like, what? So whereas April 1st was like relatively like, you're pretty sure that you're going to be playing Regulation C because the tournament starts on April 1st. The rules in April, they clarified in the rules at a certain point that the VGC format will match the Battle Stadium format. They have some kind of line in there like that. And so it's pretty clear cut. Like, April 1st comes around. Okay, yeah, we're going to be playing Regulation C. June 30th, Friday, is when NAIC starts. Internets are a 3-day tournament, for those unaware. And so it's, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Friday is the 30th, which is technically a Regulation C rule set day. It is the last day of its that rule set's life cycle. We've seen formats kind of just like get tacked on for the next, like, they could just say like, and we'll do Regulation C for July, August, and September. There's no like, they also could just say like, yeah, Regulation D starts on July 1st and it's a different rule set. That's what Worlds is going to be like. That's and like, Friday you're competing in this one rule set, but then Saturday is another day of the tournament. That's July 1st. They're not going to change the rules mid-tournament, but it's just kind of a mess.
Yeah.
It's just so funny to think about. Like, I mean, eventually it's not going to be a mess. They're just going to come out and say like, we're going to play, they're probably just going to come out and say we're playing Regulation C through the whole tournament because that's what Friday is. However, it's just so funny to think that July 1st, like, I don't know. I mean, and then that I already stated it, but Worlds, are we gonna play a different format for Worlds? I don't think we've ever done it. It would be so gross. It would be crazy.
Well, if you think about it, like, what could there be beyond Regulation C in terms of legal Pokemon within Paldea? Like, we kind of talked about with the Paldea Prologue, like, the only progression from adding the ruins would be adding Koraidon and Miraidon.
Yep.
Which I don't, and I agree with you in that I don't really think those will be legal for Worlds. So maybe Regulation D is just also Regulation C. Like, I think, did we had consecutive series be the same format in Sword and Shield at all?
We did,
No.
but never consecutively, except for series 13 and 14, I think, or something like that.
That doesn't count.
They were always, like that was like when the games were done. It was always, we did series 8 and then series 11 were the same, and series 7 and series 9 were the same.
Okay.
And I think that was very unpopular, and they hopefully will not do that again. But there's a chance that like they're like, hey, we're out of ideas, so we're gonna go back to series 2.
Yeah.
Very funny. I think what's more likely is that they release Pokemon Home and they say Walking Wake, Iron Leaves, and the Pokemon Home Pokemon are legal.
Yeah.
It could just be those two also. Like, I mean, with this Regulation C, they're only making 4 Pokemon legal. It wouldn't be out of this world to like, okay, now we're just adding another 2.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a whole list. It would be strange to do, but they could just make it all Pokemon obtainable in Scarlet and Violet. There are a couple of Pokemon being added like every like couple weeks. There's several already in there. Actually, if we go back to the Paldea Prologue announcement page,
there's banned ones.
There's all the banned Pokemon. These are the Pokemon that you cannot use in VGC, but are obtainable in Scarlet and Violet. They would not like break the metagame, except maybe those bottom 2, Walking Wake and Iron Leaves. Charizard could definitely see some usage, and Greninja and Cinderace too. But and like I think not listed here is Decidueye, who just got a raid announced and is going to be coming out this week. So by the time Worlds comes around, they might have added quite a few Pokemon. A lot of people are already, with Decidueye getting announced, people are like, Incineroar's around the corner. But that is like I think we've kind of covered the main like speculative rule sets. It's kind of hard to say. We know that the DLC is coming out post Worlds, like that.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be a factor here, and so it's just like most likely option still Regulation C. But there's the option that they do the Paldea Prologue, allow the one stupid restricted legendary, pick your side, Civil War. It would be so awful. They might just add a couple of Pokemon like the Walking Wake or the Iron Leaves. They might add all the Pokemon that are in the games physically, with all these like raids that they're kind of drip feeding slowly over time. It's kind of hard to say. It's all speculation, and I don't like that we're like so unsure. I mean, like, it's Worlds is in Japan. It would I would like to know like what I'm getting myself into. Like, if I'm booking the trip, I'm gonna be going almost like regardless. But like, if I'm booking the trip to play Series D, which is like Koraidon Miraidon, that's just like this is a fake Worlds. This is just it just doesn't feel real. It's not comparable to the other
Worlds.
It's just kind of a side effect of the. Yeah, go ahead, Audie.
Jake.
I was just saying, this would be the first time if they change the formats where Worlds is not in the same format as like multiple other events.
Yeah.
Obviously we had like, I guess Ultra Series was the shortest because it started in like March or something. And if you count 2018 as starting in March because Incineroar got released in March, that's also fair. But like generally speaking, Worlds, at least this past Worlds, was dominated by people who had been grinding one team for the entire format and we're just super, super comfortable with it. And so it's going to be a huge shift to be like, hey, actually, this is going to be an exercise in team building and you have 1 month to figure it out.
So, we've never had, I think one thing that like is leading us down all of these like rabbit holes of speculation is I don't think we've ever had this uncertainty. Just because like I mean, like going way back to like, when Jake and I started, and even when Audie started, like the rules were just there for the whole year. We didn't have this series thing. And then in 2020, obviously there wasn't a Worlds, but there was, I guess, a year before that, 2019. They kind of announced the dates. I think at the very beginning of 2019, they said Sun Series is going to go from here.
Worlds,
at 2018 Worlds, they said Sun Series goes from here to here, Moon Series here to here, Ultra Series to the end, to Worlds. They said it was going to go until Worlds, and then I think at Worlds they said that Ultra Series would continue on beyond it. That there wasn't going to be like some mysterious post Worlds format. It was just more Ultra Series. Anyways, 2020 comes around, we don't have a Worlds. 2022 though, I think they kind of said similarly that, or they said that Series 12 was just going to go from like January till like the end of August, or like, so like maybe like September. So like it covered everything that we were concerned about. And then I think in September it started that Series 13, which we were all like, whoa, Mythicals, is this even going to be VGC? And then we're like, nah, no VGC. We got to fix the circuit. And then they fixed the circuit. Everything's fixed now, and it's great. I love it. Yeah, it's just so weird that the dates line up as they do, that it's literally in the middle of NAIC and Worlds is just a big question mark. NAIC is like half of a question mark. It's also just confusing. Maybe it's a full question mark. Go ahead, Don.
That happened in Collinsville in 2020 where the series changed on Sunday.
Yeah.
So you just played Sunday on the old one, but I actually wish there were like side events that gave CP, because I rolled up to the MSS on Sunday with Incineroar just brand new legal, and that was just like a fun tournament with just like it was mostly just Incineroar, but like it's still cool. Like, oh, this is literal day one of using this.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what Fort Wayne's gonna be like a little bit. Like,
yeah.
It's just like so brand new. Okay, so with that speculation aside, though,
wait, can I give one more piece of speculation?
Sure.
One more trolly one. Is that we don't know that we don't know when the DLC comes out. We know that the format that Worlds will be in will most likely be July and August, and the DLC will not come out before July. So the DLC will probably not.
They've said fall.
They said fall,
but
yeah,
I think that there is a crazy scenario where the DLC comes out like the first week of August, and while the new Pokemon aren't legal, the
No.
move tutors are legal. And that's my favorite scenario.
Oh no.
This is so absurd.
They have done that. They've done that kind of thing with a 14.5 was the whole thing.
Yeah, true. The 14.5 was funny.
So for what it's worth, I do have some precedent about that where I remember at the very end of 2017, I went to San Jose Regionals, which is like in November after the new games had come out. And in 2017, if you wanted to use Bounce Gyarados, it had to be shiny because it came from an event that was, I think, only released in Asia, so it was really hard to get. And so you have to be shiny to Cherish Ball. And then afterwards, Bounce was a move tutor move, and so you could get it in the new games. Even if a Pokemon was caught in the Sun and Moon, you could trade it over to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, give it a move tutor, trade it back, and it still fit the legality of 2017. So I remember, because I was running Bounce Gyarados on my team. I was like, I wonder if I'm allowed to just run non-shiny Bounce Gyarados. People will just infer that I don't have Bounce, because of course it was closed team sheet at the time. But technically it is fully legal because I can just trade it over. In fact, it's much easier to get in game. So I emailed the organizers of that event, and they said, no, you cannot do that. You still have to be.
Oh,
Yeah, they were like, no, you have to use the hard to get Gyarados.
It was not like that in 14.5 that Jake mentioned. Donald, do you know about 14.5?
no, what is this?
Jake, do you want to kind of explain it?
Yeah, so in between, so like through the end of 2014, from the point when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out, you could do, it was still using the 2014 rule set, but you could use Omega
Onyx
Ruby,
and
Alpha
Y.
Sapphire. Yes, yeah, sorry. Use the XY rule set, but you could trade stuff over to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, use the move tutors, and then trade it back, and it was legal. So that's when we got stuff like Hyper Voice Sylveon, Hyper Voice Gardevoir. It was like the
They
first
just literally
time
didn't have
we
Hyper
showed-
Voice. So, like,
Right, yeah.
Oh. Okay, that's a big deal.
Those are the big ones. They're like, I know Kinkelder. I'm just thinking there was like one team, that one like Keegan Beljanski team that everyone was running, and it had like, it was Kinkelder, Charizard, Sylveon. Those are the three I remember. But the Kinkelder and Sylveon both had move tutor moves, so it became like a pretty big thing. There were no regionals in that format, and if there were, I think we might have had some different like rulings on it, kind of like what you said, Audie. But it was just a bunch of premier challenges that we had in that time. And it was fun. Like it was very different. It was just unique because we never got to play that format in any kind of regional.
yeah, it was. Was there a European one? Maybe. Was there a European regional? I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I know there was nothing
Maybe.
NA.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's bring it back to what is actually upcoming. Fort Wayne. I know that I'll be going. Donald, I believe, is going. Audie, are you doing Fort Wayne as well? Yeah. Jake, are you gonna be there? I don't know if you're doing Fort Wayne or not.
I'd never tell.
He would never tell.
It's Vancouver, then Charlotte, then Fort Wayne too.
Yeah. So there's still some Series 2 events, but but yeah, looking at these four Pokemon here, we kind of talked about them earlier, but let's talk about them. Just the Ruin Pokemon, and we talked about like some of the impact, fairies, fightings, and stuff like that. But the Pokemon themselves, we could dive into them really quick as the last thing to talk about here. So let's start with Tinglu. Tinglu, the stats, honestly, it looks like this thing's just got an incredible base stat total. Like, it feels like it has like 600 more stats than the other Pokemon, just because because its speed is so low. Its speed is 45, and so like when you take speed out of the base stat total, which speed is of course a very important stat, but if your Pokemon is like 45 speed or 5 speed, it doesn't matter. They're effectively the same thing, really. And so this Pokemon has so many other stats in the other places. This Pokemon, 155 HP, 125 defense, 80 special defense, with an ability that reduces special defense by what are the actual ruin numbers? Are they 30%?
25?
Is it 25?
They cut their special attack. They multiply their special attack by 0.75.
Okay.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this Pokemon. And then it's got a 110 attack stat, which is fine. Its move pool is pretty middling. It's got like some okay options. Like for stabs, it's got Earthquake and Throat Chop and Stomping Tantrum. And off of a 110 attack stat, this Pokemon is not going to be sweeping your team, but it is just like the ultimate switch in.
Yeah, I think Ruination and Fissure are going to get a lot of mileage on it too.
People are already picking up on the fun Fissure Stomping Tantrum kind combo.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. So you basically you just say like, okay, well, I have a couple turns. You're gonna take a couple turns to KO me. Maybe not because the offense runes are so insane. But if this thing does get to sit on the field, so it's gonna click Fissure, and if it hits, that's awesome. If it doesn't though, it didn't actually waste any time damage output wise. I mean, Protect does exist, but Stomping Tantrum will now double in power because that Fissure missed. And so, assuming they don't Protect, you hit them with a 150 base power Stomping Tantrum, and you didn't really miss out on anything except you gave yourself the chance to Oko a Pokemon on the first turn. That's just kind of awesome.
So you build your own Gigaton hammer in a way.
A little bit. It is just like it's like a weird backwards version of it or something. I don't know.
I know Fissure's always been kind of like a meme, but I think it's like super legit on Tinglu. Like it's such a like you were saying, it's so fat and it's gonna take a lot of time to KO it. So I think having that time to just throw out a couple Fissures and see what happens, especially when you can combine it with Stomping Tantrum like that, I think there's nothing wrong with that at all.
I think this one does get Snarl. Does it not get Snarl?
It does.
It gets Snarl.
Okay, yeah, Snarl's just not a move that Smogon likes. They don't use Snarl over there? It's just that I'm in the usually useless moves.
Yeah. I think Heavy Slam has a place on it too.
Heavy Slam's good, Snarl, good.
Body Press.
Body Press, it's got a 125 defense stat. Press? Yep. It also just gets rock coverage if you're interested in that. It's not kind of massive, but like it's an option if you know you're really trying to rely on those ground type moves and want to cover the flyers.
Yes, drop if you want a dark move. Like it. Yeah. Like if you're not running AV on it, like most people I think are, then it does have some support moves in that you can set up like spikes or stealth rock, or you can toss
those
things.
hazards. Got those hazards for sure.
I mean, it's gonna be. I don't know if this format is gonna be really fast paced or really slow paced, but I think it's gonna be one or the other. It's not really gonna be in the middle with most games, and so.
Well, if you're interested in fast paced games, then let me show you Qian Pao. We got to play around with these Pokemon a bit in Series 0, as we like to call it. Basically,
Regulation Z or
Regulation
0, I guess.
Regulation not.
Regulation not.
Regulation Alpha.
Before we I can't believe you brought that up. That's so stupid, man. Before we knew the rules, but like, you know, they'd taken like a couple. I mean, honestly, when the games come out, if they took more than a day, it's forever. And so I feel like we didn't know the rules for at least a week, and so we wanted to start playing and kind of like so people assumed that, you know, everything was going to be legal for the most part, and so we were playing with the runes, we were playing with the paradoxes, and Chen Pao. Chen Pao's partner in crime, the offense Pokemon both kind of have a partner in crime. Chen Pao was often paired with Dragonite. So I can't really tell the full story about this Pokemon without talking about Dragonite. It's still, like, you know, in the early days here of Regulation C, kind of running things. So, but I guess let's talk about what options this thing has mostly. I mean, it's an Ice Dark type, so it's like, think Weavile, because it's also built kind of like Weavile. We talked about the stats of Tinglu. And that thing's built like nothing else. I mean, those stats are insane. This one is dropping your defense stat by, you know, 0.75 or by 25% or whatever you want to say. And it's fast. It's 135. Unfortunately, Speed ties Fluttermane, which is just awful because they're both very relevant Pokemon. It's got the, you know, relatively frail defenses, a 120 attack stat bolstered by that ability. And Dark Ice, so it's got priority moves on both of its stabs, Ice Shard and Sucker Punch. It's got reliable damage on both of its stabs in Crunch, Throat Chop, and then Ice Spinner and Icicle Crash. I think most people are going to opt for Ice Spinner because this Pokemon likes to spam priority moves, and being able to turn off something like a Psychic Terrain can be very handy. It's actually the only ruin Pokemon to get a healing move directly and recover. Woshan gets Leech Seed, but I don't think you're going to be able to get off many recovers with this thing.
No.
This thing does have some pretty cool support moves. Snarl, I guess, but I'm mainly looking at, and there's Sheer Cold. Oh, I haven't talked about Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword is like its bread and butter coverage move, just like a fighting move that's very reliable. But it gets Mist, Icy Wind, and Haze are, I think, some of the other noteworthy moves. But yeah.
Sword stance too.
It does get Sword Stance. Sheesh. And so, yeah, bringing it back to talking about its partner, Dragonite. Dragonite likes to spam Terra Normal, Choice Band, Extreme Speed, and just casually do 100 to, like, Pokemon that have no business getting O-Code. On top of Dragonite having the Inner Focus ability, which was buffed in the previous generation to be Intimidate immune, it's a Pokemon that's kind of hard to live, I guess. Like, I mean, on top of that, Dragonite is a pseudo legend. It's a pretty bulky Pokemon, so you when it's a dragon flying type at one point and a normal type at another, you're gonna have a hard time OHKOing it. And yeah, it's spamming +2 extreme speeds, and it's really well.
And, like,
it pairs really well with Chen Pao's coverage. Go ahead, Adi.
God forbid that you decide that you're going to not care about speed because it ignores your speed stat and try to outbulk it, because then it gets to click Choice Band Outrage instead, which is just even more powerful.
Yeah.
I have seen it, and Pokemon that have no business getting one shot by Outrage. That move is quite insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the thing is like Chen Pao is enabling its partner Dragonite while also doing pretty solid damage on its own. But the thing is, you're like, okay, the +2 extreme speed is probably what's worrying me a bit more, because that's going to hit me first, and so I want to make sure that I live that. What are my options defensively, whether Terra or natural typing? Okay, I can be a rock type. That gets hit by Sacred Sword from Chen Pao. I can be a steel type. That also gets hit by Sacred Sword from Chen Pao. Or I can be a ghost type to take 0 damage, but that gets hit super effectively by the dark type moves. These Pokemon just cover each other so well that it's going to be something that you're going to have like a super solid game plan, or you're going to have to be abusing it yourself, but better than your opponent going into these first couple of events. Poison doesn't resist normal, I guess, is the noteworthy thing there. You can get the fighting type resist from it, but yeah, the Dragonite will just kind of run you over. I don't think I ever really want to like run damage calcs on the podcast here, because that sounds terribly boring, but I could show you like to Terra Normal Choice Band Extreme Speed kills everything. That's all you need to know. Like you're not, none of the Pokemon that have any stats are even living. It's so stupid. You can obviously like EV to limit, but at that point your Pokemon's just not a Pokemon anymore. It's just like it's gonna die to the next one. Arceus in disguise, I like that. Okay. I did already pull up the damage calc for my own Arcanine. Thank you, that's a really good point. I pick and choose. Okay. Do you guys have anything more to say about Chen Pao before I move us on to the next one?
I do think like Chen Pao Dragonite specifically might also have been a bit of like new toy syndrome, because at the same time we got Chen Pao, we got like Inner Focus, Terra Normal, Choice Band Dragonite, and not to say that it's like not strong. Like obviously it's really oppressive and hard to deal with, but there might be some other things that people pick up on too that also combo really well with Chen Pao.
I mean,
so I wouldn't just say like I wouldn't like zero in on Dragonite specifically as a partner if you're looking to play with it. I'm sure there's a lot of other things out there. I don't have anything in mind, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things that combo with it very well that may not have been explored yet.
The thing with Chen Pao to me is like, I think in total it could kind of cover everything, but it like no one Chen Pao could cover everything. So like, do you run Sucker Punch, Ice Shard, Sacred Sword, Throat Chop, Ice Spin, or Protect? Like you can only pick 4 of those. So I could see people dropping Throat Chop for Sucker Punch, and then NDD starts doing pretty well. At least buys you a turn before they Ice Spinner.
Yeah, forcing them to Ice Spinner makes their options a little bit more linear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even just like if Sucker Punch is the only dark coverage, then yeah, maybe you just like Terra into Ghost and then just start clicking Trick Room and status moves, right? So I'm curious where it'll end up, because that'll just like completely change the counterplay to the Mon.
Yep. And to go off of what Jake was saying, like another Pokemon that I think pairs really well is just Great Tusk, because they have that ice ground coverage that can be quite strong, and Great Tusk already does quite insane damage in the current format. So giving it an extra multiplier sounds plenty interesting to me. Okay. Next up, though, we have Chi-Yu. This is the other offense one. This one is lowering your special defense. This Pokemon has, it's a dark fire type, and its stats look like this. It's able to take hits a little bit better on the special side. Chi-Yu is the Pokemon that reminds me to bring up that your Ruin Pokemon are not affected by the same Ruin ability of itself. So, Beads of Ruin is Chi-Yu's ability, which drops the special defense of all the other Pokemon. It does not affect any other any Pokemon on the field with Beads of Ruin as their ability. So that would be itself, and that would be other Chi-Yu, or, I mean, if there was weird skill swap shenanigans, of course. Yeah. But anything that has Beads of Ruin will avoid the special defense drop of other Beads of Ruin Pokemon. And with a 55 and 120 base special defense, 55 HP is pretty abysmal. But the 120 special defense is solid enough that this means that it can kind of stand in the face of other Chi-Yu. Chien-Pao definitely cannot sit in front of itself because it learns that Sacred Sword and hits itself for quadruple super effective damage that no matter what you do, that's going to be pretty crazy. But Chi-Yu otherwise has some I don't think it has coverage. It has like psychic. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it really doesn't.
But also Terra Blast, basically.
Terra Blast, yeah, that's true.
It also like doesn't need coverage though, if we're being honest. It does way too much damage as is.
If you're not immune to it,
like, yeah. Even because like it's the same drop in defense as Chien-Pao, but I think it has like 15 more special attack than Chien-Pao has attack, so you feel the effect a lot more.
Yeah, it does.
And right. And not to bring up like other formats, but my first exposure to Chien-Pao and Chi was in DOU in like December. And Flutter Mane is banned in DOU mostly because of Chi-Yu.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just like
are those two still legal?
Yeah, it's Flutter Mane and like Annihilate and Tatsugiri, I think, are the three big bans.
Okay, gotcha. We're not going to talk about the Tatsugiri one, Donald. Okay, shut up. We cannot do this again.
No, it's just like it like enables itself more than Chien-Pao does, while also still having good combos like Flutter Mane or like Sylveon. Mm-hmm. I think those are two that pop to mind immediately for me.
This one is a bit slower. It's got a 100 speed stat, so there's like a decent pool of Pokemon between 100 and 135. So you got some more options that you can choose to outspeed this thing. Garchomp, Mousehold are just like two Pokemon that come to the top of my head. Pawmot that will naturally outrun this thing and maybe threaten it with a one-shot. But the name of the game is... so we were talking about Chi-Yu and its defense dropping. It kind of led to a lot of priority moves. When you look at Chi-Yu and Dragonite and like their kind of strategy, it focuses around priority moves. Chi-Yu and its partner, which is Flutter Mane, typically, they focus on spread moves. And that's the thing that you're going to see a lot of here. Heat Wave is the main one, but there's also Snarl. Snarl is good as a support option, but it's kind of like Snarl from Yveltal, where like, oh, yeah, no, you reduced my damage by doing 30% plus, like, to both of my Pokemon.
Dude, you can, like, 2-hit KO things with Snarl. It's gross.
Yeah. I mean, especially on the choice spec set, those Snarls are not here to reduce damage. It is here to kill you. And that's amazing. Otherwise, Overheat for, like, the Super Nuke Dark Pulse is just, like, the consistent options. And then this Pokemon has good support options. Snarl to reduce the special attack prowess, and again, remember, it's immune to its own ability, so it can be a decent answer to opposing special attack spam. And then it has Will-O-Wisp. It is a fire type, and so it gets that Will-O-Wisp. It can kind of keep physical attackers in check too. It's a pretty interesting Pokemon. I don't really have a lot to say about the Flutter Mane thing. The Flutter Mane and Chi-Yu cover each other pretty well. Because, steel types are something that you could look at to deal with Flutter Mane, like your King Gambit or whatever, or your Goldango, to resist those, like, big fairy type moves. They're getting cooked by the Heat Wave, and so that is mainly how they cover each other's bases, while also just kind of spamming spread moves at you. And so Chien-Pao, you want to answer for priority. Chi-Yu, you kind of want to have answers for spread moves.
I want to say there was a Nails tweet not too long ago that was just a calc of Chiyu one-hit KOing a special defensive Primal Groudon with Overheat.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
No, I think that
I
sounds
saw
right.
that tweet and I was like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense.
Yep. No, that sounds right. Okay.
I wonder,
go
do
ahead.
y'all think, like, I know when we were playing last year in Series 0, like, support sets started cropping up, like, with, like, max HP, Snarl, Will-O-Wisp.
Mhm.
It's really good in the mirror. I don't know if it's good against the metagame as a whole, but I could see that happening with Chi-Yu, but I don't think anything like that would happen with Qian Bao.
Yeah,
I
that's
agree,
true.
yeah.
I think Chi-Yu has definitely just got a better move pool to have the supportive option, and I think you will see, you'll probably see specs more often than the defensive one, but I think that especially like towards the top, like good players are going to be considering the defensive one as a pretty interesting alternative to say something like Arcanine, especially when Arcanine can't do anything about Inner Focus Dragonite. Okay, so then lastly we have everyone's favorite, this stupid snail. I gotta say, aesthetically, I want to ask the call which one's the best, because the answer is the snail. I love this thing. It's so stupid. It's my favorite aesthetically. What do you guys think?
It was originally my least favorite, but it is now my favorite.
Let's go.
Yeah, I really came around on it.
It is also my favorite aesthetically. No
Yeah.
doubt.
It grew on me, but Chi's still my favorite. Just like the koi fish.
It's lit.
Like.
I mean, Chi-Yu is a close second for me.
But we all agree that Ting Lu looks the worst, right?
No, I like the bowl. I think Qian Pao is so uninteresting.
Yeah, but both Qian Pao and Tinglu are just like kind of whatever to me. They're fine, but a bit boring.
No, I like the big bowl. The big bowl is stupid. I also like how Qian Pao looks like it's made out of like sedimentary rock or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, I want to see them in game to really know.
Yeah.
Like a big Tinglu might just be kind of sick. Like if it's just like covering the screen, you can't see your other Pokemon. You turn your
just because of its stupid big bowl.
Yeah, you Terra whatever it.
So this Pokemon was originally a meme, and Grass Dark is a typing that you do have to question when you see it. They also released 3 Grass Dark types, and guess what? The 2 that we've gotten to play with so far were very strong. Meowscarada was like towards the very top of Series 1. Donald, what is this?
I was like, Sarud? Like, when did we play with I forgot about Meowscarada.
Totally. I was talking about Shiftry, Donald, of course.
Oh, my bad.
I thought you were talking about Cacturn.
Cacturn has also been, wow, those 2 came out together, too. That's funny.
Yeah.
Is there a third Grass Dark in Gen 3? Probably not.
Surely not.
Is there another Grass Dark that I'm missing? I don't know. Wow,
I'm gonna go look it up.
They released 4, and there were 2 and 2 in 2 generations.
Well, no, there's 3 in this generation.
Are there?
Yeah, no, because of Brute Bonnet.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So then we later got Brute Bonnet in Series 2, which was a very strong Pokemon. Nearly won Orlando on Ashton's team. So they proved that, despite this typing looking kind of sketchy, it's like as long as you put good stats, moves, and abilities or whatever on it, it's going to be a relevant Pokemon. Grass Dark also does, like, at the very least, it has good defensive positions if you can put it in the right spot. It comes with the psychic immunity that Dark has, prankster immunity. Grass is immune to all the Amoonguss stuff, and a couple of handy resistances like ground and maybe that's it. No, water.
Water.
That's another good one. So anyway,
I think of the 4, it's probably the most reliant on its Terra.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because it's like defensively entirely in nature.
Yes.
But I still think it has a place. Like it'll be annoying to deal with for a lot of teams. I think Poison is like the go-to Terra now, but I'm sure there are other options out there. Mm-hmm. And having Pollen Puff, I think, is like the big saving grace for it. It's like if it doesn't have Pollen Puff, it's gonna struggle to have like things to do on the field at any given time. But that kind of sets it apart.
Yeah, Leech Seed Pollen Puff on this Pokemon is just so crazy. It's like it's a stronger like cleric Pokemon that it's like a self-supporting cleric Pokemon, which is like so cool. Yeah. we've seen Amoonguss spam Pollen Puff, we've seen Celesteela spam Leech Seed, but this Pokemon kind of does both. It can kind of end game while also keeping its friends alive on the turns that as it approaches that. It's got some pretty good options itself. It's got Giga Drain, Foul Play, which if you don't follow Dwabblefed on Twitter, always handy just because Leonard will keep you up to date on like mechanics that you might be wondering about. Tablet of Ruin reduces the attack of opposing Pokemon by 0.75, but Foul Play does not get impacted. So I believe Leonard did like a Foul Play onto a Hero Palafin, and it was still doing over half because Palafin's attack stat is so high, and the damage was not reduced. It was in line with what the damage calc would say. And the damage calc is correct on that one, so you don't have to worry about manually changing numbers or anything. And so, yeah, Foul Play is still a very viable option on the Pokemon because of that. It's not kind of hindering itself. Anyway, if something next to it, though, like a Murkrow, was just like using Foul Play, I believe the damage would be reduced. Yeah. Then there's Giga Drain and Knockoff. Not a lot of Pokemon get Knockoff. Knockoff hasn't felt like massively viable. I think Knockoff would feel better in a format when, remember, we had the big berries, knocking those off was like dealing 50% plus to a Pokemon in a format where Pokemon had 150% health, but we don't really have anything quite like that. It's got Power Whip if you're interested in doing physical. It's got pretty comparable attack stats. And then this one, along with Ting Lu, do get a bit more mileage out of Ruination because it's not going to be investing as often in its offense stats, and so it's going to be happy to just chip you for 50% with a Ruination just casually. Snarl as well. Snarl pairs really well with its ability. It can reduce your special damage output while its ability is reducing your physical damage output. So yeah, with that, I mean, if you guys have anything to say about Wo-Chen, I just kind of like overall, they're adding 4 Pokemon and like only are adding 4 Pokemon. It's kind of like one of the smallest additions that they've done for one of these series, but the 4 of them are so impactful. They're like so big that like it does feel pretty format warping.
Do y'all think Wo-Chen has to run Leech Seed? I think like every set I see runs Leech Seed, so I'm just wondering, like, is that a given, or do y'all think there are like other sets it could do?
I think there are worlds where it doesn't.
I guess so.
If you give up Leech Seed, you just give up the possibility for Wo-Chen to be like the end game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just run like Pollen Puff, Snarl, Ruination, something like, I think that's probably fine if you just angle it to be solely support and not a checkmate.
I mean, it's got good attacks, as we said. It doesn't have like a ton of strong support options aside from that Leech Seed, and so then it begs the question, like, do you run it Assault Vested? Especially if you don't need to protect every other turn to rack up the Leech Seed damage. Then you could run it Assault Vested because that also pairs really well with its ability again. If it's dropping your attack and then Assault Vest is keeping it especially healthy, that's just kind of cool. But yeah, it's got the option to, but I would personally just always run Leech Seed and Pollen Puff on this thing just because I like how that plays.
Another thing that I think people might sleep on is the speed stat. Like, it's space 70, which, I'm not going to invest in speed, but it's nice that it is basically going to outspeed like King Gambit, Iron Hands, and like bulky T-Tars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sitting at 90 uninvested. Oh, yo, are you talking about some trailblazing? I'm down. I'm down. Yeah. It's a pretty interesting Pokemon. It gets grassy terrain. I don't think you're ever gonna run that, but
hey, it gets Bullet Seed. So if you want to put loaded dice on it, you can.
But wait a minute, loaded dice on the snail?
Surely this is a better this is the best grass dark type that gets Bullet Seed. I can't think of a better one.
I mean, now I'm interested. I didn't talk about the stats on this one, but the defense is 85, 100, 135. This one it doesn't quite have the Ting Lu bulk, just like the natural bulk, but it's still like very bulky, and because of like Leech Seed it's able to just keep itself around for quite a while. The attack stats kind of lend you to pick your poison. Pollen Puff maybe makes you want to lean towards the special side with like a Giga Drain or a Snarl or something, but you could run a Power Whip if you're interested in doing more damage to like a Flutter Mane, just like off the rip. And yeah, even though it's the snail, I do think it's funny that it's not the slowest one compared to Ting Lu. Yeah, these stats are just very, very well rounded. I think it's like pretty comparable to like Tapu Fini in terms of like speed, offense, and defenses. I think almost all of them are like Tapu Fini, just stat wise. I don't think it'll play very much like Tapu Fini.
I think it's more comparable to Ferrothorn if Ferrothorn got Pollen Puff.
Yeah,
right.
That's kind of
like,
true.
Not Gen 8 Ferrothorn, but Gen 7 Ferrothorn, where it just kind of sits there. It quickly seed. It's an end game mon. It isn't. Obviously, Ferrothorn didn't reduce your damage, but it really disincentivized you from using physical attacks because you would take recoil essentially by attacking it. And so it kind of had a similar effect in that way. But Pollen Puff is a pretty huge distinguisher. And honestly shores up probably the biggest weakness that Ferrothorn had, which is that you just attack its teammates and Ferrothorn keep a Pokemon in the endgame Ferrothorn. Now if you attack the Wo-Chen's teammates, it might just heal it back up.
Something that you'll see a lot of early on in team building is this. I think this is the last take I want to give on things, and then if everybody else wants to give their takes otherwise, well, I know that we're kind of going long, so I just wanted to, like, before I launch into this, you're going to see a lot of people pair Chen Pao Chi Yu on offense teams, and you're going to see a lot of people pair Wo-Chen and Ting Lu on defense teams. And I mean, that kind of makes sense. The play styles lend to that. But I think that there are going to be some interesting teams that pair the physical ones here on the left, Ting Lu and Shen Pao, and the special ones, Chi Yu and Wo-Chen on the right. And as we kind of talked about earlier, Chi Yu can kind of play defensively. Paired with Wo-Chen, it's technically boosting Wo-Chen's damage output, which is like probably not the most crazy, but like it can bump it up a little bit. And then also, they are two parts of a Fire Water Grass core, so they kind of cover each other well there. Chen Pao and Ting Lu, as I had mentioned earlier when I was talking about Great Tusk, ground coverage paired with ice is very strong. You can kind of still do that with Ting Lu, and Chen Pao will be dropping the defense stat for Ting Lu. And the thing is that these pairings, they just don't step on each other's toes at all. If you run Wo-Chen and Ting Lu, it means that when your Wo-Chen's next to your Ting Lu's stomping tantrums are going to do even less damage than they already are doing. Whereas Chi Yu and Chen Pao, they don't actually step on each other's toes at all, because they are just there to kill you, and they will kill you pretty effectively if they are next to each other. They will kill you pretty effectively if they're not. Wo-Chen and Ting Lu, Wo-Chen and Chi Yu are both special attackers, and are just not going to step on each other's toes. So I think that Ting Lu, Chen Pao, and Chi Yu Wo-Chen are some cool ideas that if you want to run two of them, because I mean, when the Pokemon are this broken, it's not going to be too far-fetched to run two of them. I think some people will run three of them, and maybe that's too far, maybe not. The Pokemon are very good. But yeah, if you go ahead, Audie.
If we're talking about my like closing takes or analysis of the format, having played very little with it, I think that the two things that I feel like are, the first is that Dozo is still very good because of how well it plays with Chi Yu and Chen Pao. It is probably the team that makes best use of it. We've obviously seen the teams that's like Chen Pao, Dragonite, Chi Yu, Fluttermane, Dozo. But it really does fit with the pacing, which is, a huge amount of offensive aggression into a hard pivot into your like raid boss mode, into a ton of offensive aggression again. And especially given Tatsugiri and how much damage Choice Scarf Tatsugiri can throw out, having a Chi Yu in back that you switch out, into Tatsugiri later and then switch it in after Dozo dies, and getting this really powerful Muddy Waters off with the fire water synergy is like a genuinely maybe the team to beat day one of the format, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The second take is that, and I said this earlier, I think screens are really good because, like you mentioned, teams are really incentivized to put a bunch of stacked physical attackers, at least on the field, if something else, or stacked special attackers. And so now, unlike in this current format where, it's not unusual to see a lead that's like Roaring Moon Fluttermane or, Great Tusk, but Iron Bundle or whatever. Now you are very likely to see 2 physical attackers or 2 special attackers on the field, and therefore setting up 1 reflect and then doing something else with your Pokemon, or setting up 1 light screen and doing something else with your Pokemon is going to be a much more viable game plan. It doesn't take as much of a commitment. So those are my 2 like initial format takes. I have to go to Charlotte Regionals before I really start thinking about Series 3 too much, but so they're half baked compared to everyone else's, I think. But that's kind of where I'm at as far as format analysis goes.
Is Donald muted? Did he? Hello, Donald. I don't know. No, you're not muted on Discord, so something else is going on. Donald, while you figure that out, I'm going to respond to one thing that Adi said, which is, I said this going from Series 1 to Series 2, but Dondozo, I think, will stay the same. I said this, we were like, does Dondozo get better or worse with Series 1? Series 1 to 2. I think you said like all these things that are good for it. I think all these things are also good against it. Dropping, like, Dondozo's Unaware doesn't get to ignore the Ruin abilities, and so, 1, that means that you can more easily get through it. Chien-Pao gets Haze. I'm not going to advocate for Haze, but it gets Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword is a really strong move into it. Chi-Yu also means that you can take advantage of Dondozo's low or special defense and just kind of power through it. And then, in my experience playing with Wo-Chen honestly feels like a solo Dozo answer with the Leech Seed and the Pollen Puffs. It sits across from it, reduces its attack, keeps its partners healthy, doesn't take anything from Wave Crash or Earthquake or even Order Up. If it gets off a single Leech Seed, it's able to just sit there and tank. And then Ting Lu, of course, a great answer into Dondozo because it has Fissure. So maybe that last one isn't as reliable. Maybe that one's not as reliable as the other ones into Dondozo, but I think that all of these Pokemon provide good tools to be used against Dondozo, while also, of course, being good types with it, or good mons with it.
Does my mic work again?
Yes, it does.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, my closing take is I think a lot of focus initially are people going to be thinking like, oh, how do I resist like the Chi-Yu and the Chien-Pao? Like, do I go to ghost types or whatever? But I think there might be a way to like abuse the downside of the ability. Like maybe there's just a really strong physical attack you could launch into Dragon Knight to like because its defense is lowered. Similarly, maybe there's a strong special attack into Fluttermane. And then I also think there are ways to just kind of like kill the Pokemon. Like the first thing that I thought of was like, oh, T-Tar Lichen Rock just kind of like covers both Chien-Pao and Chi-Yu in a way. Like a very simple strategy, but these are glass cannons at the end of the day. So I think there are like different tools other than just trying to resist or spam Wide Guard or whatever.
Yeah.
I think stuff like Iron Hands and Great Tusk stocks continue going up too, just because all 4 of these Pokemon are weak to fighting, and only the Ting Lu really threatens them. But even then, like you were saying, it's not like a huge offensive powerhouse. So you have, we don't think it's really just Iron Hands. Not even Great Tusk cares about it. But I think like having those fighting type moves is going to incentivize possibly more like Terraghost stuff, which also pairs well into like Extreme Speed Dragonite, and there's a lot of like moving parts here. But I think there are a lot of overlapping checks to the 4 like Ruin Pokemon, so I don't know that they're going to be like super oppressive to deal with specifically themselves, but I think that the issue is going to be dealing with what's next to them, either the offensive or the defensive ones.
Yeah, the thing that makes them different than the Tapus of years past was that the Tapus were like, they supported themselves. They also supported some Pokemon next to them occasionally, but the damage type was very telegraphed.
Yeah.
And so, like, you saw Tapu Koko and you say, I need ways to deal with electric type damage. Whereas you see a Chen Pao and you say, I need a way to deal with the whole spectrum of physical type damage. It could be any type, and so it does lend credence to Adi's idea. You know, like Intimidate isn't always going to work, but you know, Reflect is pretty much always going to work unless you're against like an Infiltrator Pokemon or something. And so Screens is a good way to guarantee damage reduction, and yeah, I think that that's something that makes them a bit more daunting. But ultimately, I think once we get like an actual tournament run in this format, we're gonna have a better idea of what needs to be targeted, and we'll get to see some cool meta development from there. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it for this one. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Regulation C, as it's not even the current format. So we'll, you know, once it actually starts having tournaments, and once we start, you know, once it actually becomes the legal format, we'll have more to say. But that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you guys for coming on, Donald and Jake. I guess thanks to Adi as well. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for us. Let's see, what are the final things to say? I'm not gonna ask for any more questions just because we kind of went a little bit long, and so we're kind of already good there. But yeah, feel free to leave any feedback, especially on the YouTube video. You know, that's always gonna be appreciated. You know, help that algorithm or whatever. And
you can also just DM Alex on Twitter. I know he really likes when people do that.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, just dump your feedback in my DMs. I have Discord or Twitter DMs turned off, so, or not turned off, but like I don't get push notifications, so I'll get to them when I get to them. Anyway, but speaking of YouTube though, this will be on YouTube in a couple of days on Adi's YouTube channel, CK49. So if you got in here late and didn't catch the beginning, you can catch the rest of it there, where we talked about like, you know, Perth and stuff. And yeah, unless you guys have any shout outs, that's gonna be it from us. Do you guys have anything you want to
plug? Speaking of my YouTube, I do want to say that there was in one of my videos, the Spam team report from OCIC that got top 8. Kareem said that he started his building process by watching a video I released in 2020 where I talked to Gavin, Justin Burns, and Cedric Bernier Talon, who of course all have won regionals, the first regional of a format between 2018 and 2020, I think, or 2017, 2020, something like that. And he was like, yeah, that was the way that I like came up with, you know, how I started my thought process. I know a lot of people have been struggling with Series 3, Regulation C, whatever you want to call it. So I want to plug that as well in case you want to get some inspiration and listen to some smart people talk about how to start team building early format.
All right.
Yeah, no shout outs for me. Just thanks for having me on.
I guess I'll plug my, I do a VOD review show with Brendan. We call it Feature Site, but it's on our Soundproof platform. So I guess Soundproof Cast on Twitter is where you can find all that. But yeah, also thanks for having me on. It was a blast.
Hell yeah, I appreciate both of you guys. This was awesome.